It's quiet tonight. The kind of quiet that doesn't ask for anything. It just waits. Every beginning feels like this to me. A blank space. No shape yet. No color. Just a pull. A gravity that says something wants to exist. Even if I can't see it yet. When I was younger, I thought creativity lived in light. The bright moments, the clarity, the finished thing. But lately, I think the real work begins in the dark, in the space before definition, when you're half lost and half becoming. This is After the Moonlight, a space for art, design, and the in-between moments that connect them. Tonight, we begin where most things start, unseen. Phase 1, the new moon, starting in the dark. Maybe this isn't about finding the light. Maybe it's about learning to see without it. You're listening to After the Moonlight, stories and reflections from the luminous in-between about art, design, and everything that glows when we let it. Phase 1, New Moon, starting in the dark. I've always loved that the new moon is invisible. It reminds me that beginnings rarely announce themselves. Sometimes they're quiet, shy things, more feeling than form. You only realize later that something started here. When I think about creativity, I think about those invisible starts. The sketch that doesn't make sense yet. The sentence you almost delete. The idea that sounds too strange to explain in a meeting. It's the space where doubt and curiosity share a seat. And you keep showing up anyway. There's a part of design that wants to solve, to define, to move straight into that clarity. But I've learned that the best work happens in the murk, right before the definition, where you're not proving anything yet. You're just listening for what wants to exist. When I was building one of my projects, there were weeks that felt like orbiting a planet I couldn't see. Everyone kept asking what the interface should look like. I didn't know yet. I just knew that I needed it to feel like trust. So I started sketching shapes that felt like breathing, colors that exhaled instead of shouted, and clarity arrived quietly, like a tide. Sometimes I wonder if darkness is just light that hasn't decided on a shape. Maybe that's what this phase is for. Not producing, not proving, but noticing. The new moon is permission to be unready, to let things germinate without applause. If you're listening to this, maybe you're somewhere in your own beginning. Maybe you're staring at a blank canvas, or rewriting the same paragraph, or wondering if anyone will ever understand what you're trying to make. I don't have an answer, but I've learned that the dark isn't the opposite of clarity. It's the place where clarity learns how to breathe. So wherever you are, keep listening. The shape will take form. I've been thinking about beginnings. They don't just announce themselves, right? No confetti, no theme song. More like a little shoulder tap. Hey, it's time. This is me answering to that tap. I used to be good at starting. Almost reckless about it, honestly. I had this thing, audacity, which I now realize is just confidence with worse branding. I didn't have the plan. I had the start. And somehow that was enough. I grew up in a refugee family. We didn't have a lot, but I had what I needed. And when I didn't, I made things up, literally, out of paper, tape, and whatever else I could find. I had puzzles, Legos, sketchbooks, the kind of toys that kept you busy and quiet, which I think my mom appreciated. Dolls, hard pass. I was scared. They stared at me and I did not like that. Legos, they don't judge, they just click together. So I built things. I drew worlds. I made books and little fake concerts in my room or for my family. I didn't know it then, but that was the start of everything. Figuring out how things connect, how stories and shapes fit together when no one's handing you the instructions. Also, I was an only child with a very strict mom. Going out wasn't exactly part of the program, so I learned to be creative indoors. When the world says no, imagination says fine, I'll do it myself. When I was 18, I picked a path that wasn't exactly celebrated, not the kind of choice parents like to brag about. My mom wanted me to stay close, of course. I love her, but she also controlled just about everything growing up. I never had sleepovers, never went out unless she dropped me off and picked me up herself. If friends asked me to hang out, I'd just say no on her behalf. It was just easier that way. It was suffocating sometimes, but I understood it. She came here with nothing and keeping me safe was her whole mission. Still, I wanted freedom. Not rebellion, just breathing room. So I moved a few hours away for school. It was my first real yes to myself. Except she still made me live with someone she knew. Someone to keep an eye on me, which is what I felt. So even when I left home, it felt like there was still a report being filed somewhere, but I was free technically, just with a chaperone. I didn't have a car, so I didn't really go anywhere unless I had a ride. Most of my world was walking distance. School, grocery store, the same few streets I memorized. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine, and that was enough. Later, I had the chance to study abroad halfway across the world. No safety net, no one to check in on me. It was my first time I'd ever been completely on my own. Terrifying, but in the best way. I said yes without overthinking it. I didn't ask permission, I just went. And for once, there was no one to report back to. After college, Austin came next. I'd never been there, but I flew in for an interview, got the job, and said yes again. I didn't have much, just a bed, few boxes, and this quiet feeling that I was finally steering my own life. It was lonely sometimes, but also familiar. I'd been starting from scratch my whole life. Those were my early audacities. I didn't call them that back then. I thought I was just figuring things out. But looking back, I realized that I was practicing something I didn't even know I'd lose later. The ability to move before fear starts talking. Somewhere along the way, my yes got quieter. It's funny. I spent my whole childhood being told what I couldn't do, and by the time I finally got freedom, I started doing that to myself. My mom's control got replaced with my own invisible rules. Be perfect. Don't mess up. Plan ahead. Stay prepared. Never get caught off guard. She wanted to keep me safe. I was doing the same thing, just in a way that looked more like self-sabotage than protection. My old just go turned into what if? What if I fail? What if I look stupid? What if this ruins everything? Basically, I became my own anxious parent, except mine had a Google Calendar and insomnia. I told myself that being careful meant I was maturing. That caution was just a wisdom with better branding. But really, I was just scared. And I didn't know it yet, but that fear had a name. For years, I thought my overthinking was just my personality. Like, haha, yeah, I just overanalyze literally everything until my brain short circuits my charm, you know? Except not really. It turns out it was anxiety, not the cute, relatable kind that you tweet about. The kind that hijacks your reactions and floors the gas pedal before your logic can even get in the car. And depression was there too. The high-functioning kind that smiles politely when quietly unplugging all your joy in the background. I stayed productive. I worked. I looked fine. That was a problem. It made the fine believable. After years of therapy and a collection of self-help notes that could wallpaper a small room, I finally started medication. Then I forgot to take it for a few days and realized, oh, this is what balance feels like. The version of me I thought was normal was just me on hard mode. It was weirdly comforting, though, to know that it didn't have to be that hard. And honestly, I don't resent the old version of me. She got me here. She showed up to work when she wanted to disappear. She learned how to look calm while holding chaos in one hand and coffee in the other. But she also taught me that surviving isn't the same thing as living. You can get really good at holding it together and still not feel whole. It's a bit strange to say, but I think I got addicted to control. I'd spent so long trying to earn safety that I forgot what freedom felt like. Spontaneity started to feel dangerous. Rest felt lazy. And failure felt fatal. But I missed the version of me who said yes before she had a plan. She was scared, sure, but she moved anyway. That's when something one of my mentors once told me finally clicked. He said, "You can't control what happens, but you can control how you respond." Back then, I just nodded because, it sounded like something you're supposed to agree with, but I didn't really understand it. But now, I get it. I spent years trying to control every outcome, every feeling, every possible disaster in my head, and all it ever did was wear me out. So now I'm learning that control doesn't mean predicting everything. It just means choosing how I react when things go right, when they don't, and especially when they don't make sense yet. I'm trying to let go. Not in a dramatic, I quit everything and moved to the woods way. Just smaller, more realistic. If I can't control the situation, maybe I can control my reaction. If I can't stop fear from showing up, I can stop giving it a microphone. And if I can't plan 20 steps ahead, maybe I could just make one small move, see how it feels, and then go from there. I know, it's not as cinematic as it sounds. Sometimes it's just me reminding myself to unclench my jaw. Sometimes it's taking the damn break even though I feel guilty for it. Sometimes it's saying no or asking for help or letting something be good enough without rewriting it 3 times. That's what control looks like now. Not perfection, but response. And maybe that's the point. Maybe it's less about getting back to who I was before the anxiety and more about learning how to live with it. Not as an enemy, but as something that reminds me I care. That fear exists because something matters. And if it matters, maybe that's worth moving toward. Even if my voice shakes a little when I say yes. Here's the funny part. The thing I used to do because I had to is now something I do on purpose. Starting small, starting unsure, starting anyway. I used to think beginnings needed momentum. Some dramatic launch, some grand plan. But now I think the best ones are quiet. They sneak up on you like a whisper instead of a spotlight. When I left home at 18, it was survival. When I moved to Austin, it was instinct. But now, I start small because I want to. Because I finally understand that small is still movement. Sometimes that looks like cleaning my desk because chaos makes my brain vibrate. Sometimes it's texting a friend back instead of ghosting out of fatigue. Sometimes it's letting myself rest without calling it lazy. It's not glamorous, but it's real. And for once, it's enough. And it's funny. I used to think that enough was a consolation prize. Like if I couldn't reach extraordinary, then I must have settled. But lately, enough has been quietly saving me. There's something healing about choosing peace over pressure. calm over constant. It's a softer kind of ambition, one that doesn't burn everything on its way there. If I'm being honest, I think I've been unlearning the idea that progress has to be loud. Most of the change in my life came in silence, in long nights, half decisions, and those awkward middle phases where you're both breaking and rebuilding at the same time. That's the part no one photographs, but that's where most of life actually happens. For the longest time, I thought every big change meant starting over, leaving home, reset, moving cities, reset, starting therapy, reset. Like I was hitting a new game each time and erasing the version before it. But it's not like that. It's layers. Everything I've done, every version of me, it's all stacked there quietly, still shaping who I am now. The kid building things out of paper, scribbling. The 18-year-old saying no for the first time. The girl walking to class because she didn't have a car. The woman moving to Austin with a bed, a few boxes, and a lot of fear. The me who finally said yes to help. Therapy, medicine, softness. They're all still here. They're not erased. They're just folded in. Sometimes I look back at all of it and I realize none of those moments were resets. They were rehearsals. I wasn't restarting. I was refining. Each version of me tried to get a little more right. Each one built something the next one could stand on. And if you're in a dark patch right now, waiting for that right time, or trying to make sense of where you are, I hope you remember this too. You're not starting from nothing. You're starting from everything you've already survived. Darkness isn't emptiness. It's the in-between. It's where roots grow before anyone else sees the bloom. It's where the new moon hides before gathering light. And maybe that's all I'm doing now, gathering light slowly. Starting again, but not from scratch, just from here. The anxiety didn't magically vanish. I wish I could say I found inner peace and now float through life drinking herbal tea and journaling by the candlelight. But no, I still overthink everything. I still rehearse my conversations that never happen. My brain's favorite hobby is running worst case scenarios for events that don't even exist yet. The difference is, now I can see when it's happening. Medication didn't change who I am. It just turned the noise down enough for me to hear myself again. It didn't erase anxiety. It gave me space to make choices in spite of it. I used to believe healing meant becoming fearless. Now I think it just means learning to move scared, to build while shaking a little, to trust that even when you can't see the light, you're not broken. You're just in the middle of the process. And maybe that's why I'm making this, not because I figured it out, but because I'm still in it. Because I know what it feels like to want to restart so badly and to forget that restarts don't happen after the dark. They happen inside it. I wanted this first episode to feel like sitting in the dark with someone who doesn't rush you to turn on the lights. Because sometimes you just need the dark, not as a punishment, but as a pause. A quiet space to breathe, to untangle, to remember who you were before the noise. When I started writing this, I thought it would be about beginnings. But now I think it's more about continuing. Beginning is easy when you don't know what's coming. Continuing after you've seen it all, that's where the courage lives. And honestly, I don't know what comes next for me. I'm leaving a place I've called home for almost a decade. I'm scared, and I'm hopeful, and I'm trying to believe that those two things can coexist without canceling each other out. So if you're here listening still, maybe you're in your own in-between. I just want you to know, you're not alone in the dark. You don't have to rush to be okay. You don't have to see the whole picture yet. You just have to take one small breath, one small step, and one small yes. The new moon disappears not because it's gone, but because it's gathering light. And maybe that's what we're all doing, just quietly collecting the glow for whatever comes next. Thanks for being here. This was After the Moonlight. I'm Vora, and this was my beginning. Again.